Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is match week 16. We are going to get right into the review this week. We had a double game week last week, so there's a lot to cover. We will start with John. How's your week, man?
So
we played each other last week, by the way.
We did. And I had a good week.
I thought I had a good week.
With my actual score, if you just looked at my score, which was 210, you would have thought it was stellar. But overall, there were still 270 people ahead of me.
Wow.
With 210 points, yeah. I mean, so the chalk had big points, like it did. And so everybody had these players, and everybody scored, you know. But I was really happy with a 210.
Yeah.
I always say going to double game week, you're probably not going to hit 200, and most times you won't. But if you hit 200, that's great. Like, you should be really happy. So, let me pull up my team. So I had Semele in goal. He got the clean sheet that on the front end. He didn't on the back end. He still had 9 though. I mean, you're looking at 4.5 per week. I'll take that out of a keeper. I was actually happy with that. You know, I was really shooting for 1 clean sheet, and I got it. So I was really happy with that. So I'll tell you again, I did the 5-3-2 with the 2 non-playing defenders, so that I had a 2 out of 3 auto rule basically from the bench. So my 3 defenders were Wagner, Alba, and Long. Long had 2 clean sheets.
Yep.
So he had 16. Does nothing else, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Wagner had a clean sheet, and then had additional points, and so he had 19. Alba, his team let up 6 goals in 2 games, and he still had 21 points.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I thought Alba could score well. I mean, you always think that of him. But there's been so many weeks where I thought he was going to do well and he didn't, that I was like, I'm not playing him, and it really bit me.
Well, he's not Gressel.
No.
So he is involved. But he had a goal and 2 assists against St. Louis City. He had 17 points just in that game without a clean sheet. In fact, -1 for 3 goals against.
Yep.
But that's why you play that player. Like, I wasn't looking for clean sheets. I thought it was possible against Atlanta. That game was a shock to me. But defensively, this is so by far the best defensive week I've had all season.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. So, midfield, I had Puig, Forsberg, and Evander. Puig had 25. He was the best player of the week. He was the captain on the team of the week. Forsberg was great. You know, there was that debate, and we had it, Forsberg or Morgan. It wound up being Forsberg at 17, and Evander had 15, which is still 7.5 a week. I mean, even though, you know, that number looks great because you're always looking at a single game. Right. But even at a double game, 7.5, 2 weeks in a row is good. You know, you'll
consistent.
Take that. So, and then both of my bench midfielders wound up getting in on the defenders that didn't play. Bogusz had 18. LAFC just had a great week overall.
Yeah. And
Gazdag had 11, which really isn't stellar. That's 5.5, but it's still not terrible. My forwards, Bouanga had 19, and Messi, as my captain, had 20, so 40.
Right.
And then I had Suarez on the bench. He also had 11, like Gazdag. I don't know why it picks one over the other, but it's got to pick one. So really could have picked either of those. So
yeah.
If you look at it on a bi-week basis, outside of my keeper, my lowest guy had 5.5 points. That's not bad. I mean, you shoot for 8, and if your captain has 10, you got 100 points. So I exceeded that on the other end. So 210, really good week actually. I was really happy.
For sure. And then, so my team, 182, which I was happy with until I saw everyone else's scores, and I realized 182...
Including the guy you played against?
Yeah, 182 was just not enough this week. But, honestly, I felt like I did make some good calls. It really all came down to the back line. So, I had Philly keeper, same thing. Kai Wagner, same thing. And then I went with Walker Zimmerman, who had 7 points in the first game, so I thought it was the right call. And then 1 point in game 2. Amika Enely, 3 and then a 5 for a total of 8. Not loving that. Through the midfield, I did okay. Ricky Puig, then Evander. Then I had Lewis Morgan, which was the wrong side of the debate, but not horrific. I mean, 5 and 5. It's okay. Then subbing in the midfield, I had Bogusz with 18. That was big. Then up top, so we had the same 3 forwards. I had Messi, captain, Suarez, and then Bouanga, but I had Bouanga on the bench. Still subbed in, so I got his 19. Then I had Suarez, and then Messi with 40 as the captain. Load ended up being the bench player that didn't come in. He had 8 as well. Not really impressive there.
Well, he came in as a sub in the second game.
Yeah, so there wasn't a ton there. I mean, honestly, the difference here is Lewis Morgan scores somewhere, and this week gets a lot better, which I was shocked that Lewis Morgan just didn't do much of anything.
No, there's a few things. First of all, Enely, they lost the clean sheet against Austin on a PK. I don't know if it was extra time or the 80-something minute.
It was right at the end.
But that was at the end on a penalty kick. And then Zimmerman coming out of a clean sheet against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. You feel great. Then home against New England and they lose.
No, that's
crazy. Atrocious. And I mean, that's the definition of a letdown game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you beat the best team in the East, one of the best teams in the league, at their place where they don't let up any goals, you know, and then you're coming home to the worst team in the league.
Yeah. No, I was really not expecting that at all. And what's funny is I thought Zimmerman was a gamble until the Cincinnati game, and then I was like, let's go. Zimmerman coming back was huge. Nashville is good again. And they are kind of good again, just not against New England there for some reason.
I don't know. If you can lose a game at home to a team that bad, I don't know that you're back. Mukhtar missed a penalty. Yeah. So that one goal was a penalty, and he took 2. He missed one of them.
Yeah.
Again, he went back to that I don't have confidence in him as supposed to be the guy on that team.
Yeah, for sure. And we still see moments, but it's not what it was. So week rank 1784, that puts my overall rank to 1370. I'm still kind of dropping, honestly. I'm 21st in the Charlotte League. That just held the same. But overall, and in the Champions League qualifier, 184 really set me back. So it looks like I'm probably out of the Champions League qualifier for 3. But this is the closest I've ever been. So the first qualifier was 1364. Second qualifier, I was in the 2500s. This one's 708, and I got up in the 200s at one point. So there's one more left from weeks 19 to 24. I'm hoping that one of us can qualify for those because it starts.
Well, you got to come in the top 50, right?
Yes, but here's the thing: like if you're 150th, it looks like there's 100 people better than me, but they're a point or 2 point or 3 points better than you. Like you can.
I also do better as the season goes on,
right?
Because I have money and I have more data to work with.
For sure.
And if you look at my last 2 weeks, you know, I had a lot of bad weeks. My last 2 weeks came in 7th in Charlotte, and then this past week, 3rd in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, 382nd, and then 271st this past week, which got me into the top. It got me into the top 500 finally overall.
Right.
And I made more money. I actually made another $4.8 million this past week. Wow. So I'm at 153.7.
Yeah, I am at 151.4. I don't know how much I made last week, honestly. I didn't do the math, but I know it's up a little bit. I think I was already at 150, so I probably made $1 million-ish. But we're up over that 150 mark to where money is just really not that much of a factor anymore. I feel like I never have to make a money decision.
Well, this week you definitely won't.
Yeah, so, and that brings us into this week. So, only 4 games. we're just gonna go through all of them first, and John's got some team stuff that we'll talk about. Then we'll get into our lineups. But so at 7:30, the only 7:30 game, you have the New England Revolution playing the New York Red Bulls. Red Bulls with a lot of players out. John, do you want to?
Yeah, and I have all the international call-ups, and I'll go game by game. So the 7:30 is New England versus Red Bull. New England's got 3. Esmir, who's a good player, finally scored his first goal. And a young player, he's going to play on the under-23s for the U.S. Noah Buck, I don't know that he plays consistently, but he does play.
Yeah.
But I don't think he plays consistently. And then Ravis in goal, who I think should be playing more than he does, actually. So, but the Red Bull, they're missing Carnell, who's their starting keeper, but their backup's good, actually. But they're missing Isla and Tolkien. So two starters on their back line. And then Forsberg and Morgan.
Yeah.
So their best midfielder and their best forward.
Well, and it's funny because we've seen the Red Bulls without some of these guys. All of them Morgan, at the same time is rough.
Well, they were all gone except Morgan when he went off at home against Miami, which I would have loved him this week if it was the same, but he is playing for Scotland.
Yep.
So, I mean, you got to love when you're playing against New England, and now you're missing all these players, and that's kind of a terrible time to have to play New England.
But still some guys to look at. Frankie Amaya for the Red Bulls. He'll surely be in. So
you got the Nealis brothers if you like the defense against New England, who doesn't really score much.
It is a game. But we'll get more into it. But I'm leaning New England on that one. So next game we've got, now the rest of these are 8:30s. So Minnesota United playing FC Dallas. Who we got missing?
So Dallas is only missing Nolan Norris and Carl Sainty. Him I never even heard of. Nolan Norris has only played in one game this year. I actually had him as in my starting lineup to definitely not start, to be an auto-roo, and then he started.
The guy, I remember,
and he scored a point because he played like 18 minutes.
Yep, I remember
that. He's playing for the U.S. under-19s. So that's probably why he doesn't play much. He's really young.
Yeah.
And he's probably someone that they're looking to in the future, be one of their guys. So it's good that he's getting that international experience. But FC Dallas has all their starters, who I don't think are very good anyway. But Minnesota, Arriaga, Braun, Harvey, Ludd, Oluwaseyi, Pookie, Rosales, St. Clair, and Valentine. I mean, I think 8 of those guys are starters.
Yeah. No, insane. I mean, it's most of the team. Now, we have seen Minnesota play just a full B team randomly.
Yes.
So, they've done this before?
Yes. And Tapias isn't on here, but I think he's hurt. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's not playing, or he's on an accumulation or something, but I'm pretty sure he's not playing. So, I included him in those 8, not, starters not there. But they move guys around like a ton. Yeah.
No, and I think this is the one advantage of it. When you get to a week like this, you're kind of prepared.
So a lot of people are on New England this week because of the guys missing from Red Bull. A lot of people are on Dallas because of all the guys missing from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm really not on those teams because they're so bad. You still have pros taking the place of these guys.
Right.
And in Minnesota's situation, guys that have played this season.
Yeah, no.
So,
for sure.
And contributed.
The next game we have Sporting Kansas City, Seattle.
Yeah, so this game is almost a full squad for both teams. Sporting actually isn't missing anyone, which isn't a surprise because they're really bad.
Right.
And then Seattle is missing Stuart Hawkins, who I never heard of, but also he's playing for the U.S. under-19, so that's probably why. He probably doesn't see much time. And then Nuhu, who actually, he's in and out of the lineup a lot. So that's not really the end of the world for them to be missing him. So this is a straight-up game in all actuality.
And then to close out the weekend, St. Louis versus the Timbers.
And this is almost a full squad. You got Hebert for St. Louis, who does play, but he's not even one of their top defenders. He's the only guy from St. Louis. And then Portland, it's Arujo, Crepeau, and Miller. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Crepeau's their starting keeper, but their backup's not bad at all. And then two of their defenders that don't actually start all the time. So you're looking at pretty much full squad. I mean, you have, their forwards that always start are still there. You got a Vander. I mean,
Yeah.
they honestly don't defend anyway.
Right.
So you're looking pretty much full squad in that game as well.
So, as far as lineups go, with that in mind, I've got Ivicic in the net. Now, I have him as a sub, but Nicholas Hagen's in, so Ivicic will probably be in. I really just want a chance to watch that first half, and as long as there's not something ridiculous like a Frankie Amaya hat trick, then Ivicic will play. So I've got 5 on the back line, but 2 of them are on buys as well. Josh Bauer and Lewis Martins, obviously they'll sub out, but I have Totland, Boxel, and Arriaga. So I don't know what to think about defenders this week. So I'm trying to get one from each game, kind of.
That's what I'm doing. I'm spreading it around because I don't have faith in any of them.
Nope, exactly. And Totland has been known to score the odd goal. Boxel's been known to score the odd header. I mean, this could end up big points, but it's probably not likely.
Right.
Then through the midfield, so we've got Evander, Carlos Heel, and Edward Lovin all starting. Carlos Heel is my captain, actually. And then I have Azier Ilaramendi and Eric Tommy on the bench. Eric Tommy, I'm honestly not that confident in him, but I don't know who else to go with, really. I thought about Sangbin John.
I have him in my bench, actually.
That may change, honestly. Eric Tommy's the only one on this lineup that I don't think is going to stay there. Everyone else is kind of set now. And then as far as up top goes, I have Rodriguez and Klaus starting.
I think that's going to be very popular.
Yeah, and then I have Longwain on the bench. He scored a lot before Oluwasi got here, and now, Pookie and Oluwasi are gone, so Longwain is back.
He's going to get a chance.
Yeah, and Longwain scores goals. I mean, it's not like he's never scored in this league. He was a good goal scorer. They just upgraded to an even better goal scorer, so I think you're going to see good.
And actually, he's been more successful than Pookie. Pookie's only got 1 goal this season.
Yeah, no, it's not been a good season for him.
Yeah.
So I could see Longwain blowing up there, but I have him on the bench just in case. Of the 3, he's the one I'm the least confident in. But I'm pretty happy with Longwain there. So that is my team. Only spent $119.4 million, so $32 million left over. Again, money not a factor this week at all. Pick the best team you can pick this week, probably. Even if you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, my current lineup, I've got $33.6 million just sitting.
Yeah.
Because so many of the most expensive guys are gone.
Yep.
Exactly. And not playing. Not necessarily gone, but not playing this week. Their teams aren't playing this week.
Yeah. So, John, what do you got this week?
So I started Mira in goal. He's the backup for Coronel. I definitely want to at least see the first half. I am praying for a PK save.
Yeah.
Then you're good. That's the same 5 points for the clean sheet. It won't happen. But I went the opposite of you. I went with the Red Bull side.
Well, and how many games has Mira played? Because he's averaging 7 points a game.
He played 1 game, and he had a clean sheet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when he and Coronel came in, it was a real battle, actually. Like, they either could be the starter. So he's a good keeper. So that really wasn't a downgrade. The problem is no Tolkien and Isla. So that is a downgrade.
More shots on him.
Yeah, and when you take Forsberg out in the midfield, the ball could be in your half more. So, but even with having almost all their players, I just think New England's so bad. And I think with players missing, I think that the Red Bull could park the bus, play very defensively, and try to keep it a 0-0 game.
No, I mean, New England needs Carlos Heel to put this game on his back.
And he's the only player on that team that I have faith in. And he's on my bench. He's not even in my starting lineup.
I mean, that's how they win this game, though, is going, here you go, Carlos Heel, you win it for us. Everyone from Red Bull is gone, take this over.
Yep. So, on my back line, I have 2 $4 million Charlotte players as my, auto ruse. So, I'm going to say this. I've talked about auto ruse before. You have to play a 5 man back line with two guys that definitely aren't going to play for Autoroos.
Yeah.
This is not a week you are going to guess the defensive players.
Nope.
And you don't even have time. The second games are at 8:30 to see clean sheets and do switcheroos and stuff. Like, choose the 3 defenders you like best, then take 2 defenders in the starting lineup that aren't going to play, and give those 2 midfielders and forward your chance on the bench to pick the best 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Well, and not for anything. So, Kansas City Sounders, that one's in Kansas City. Minnesota, well, these are actually kind of all towards the middle of the country. St. Louis City's home as well. So, with all of these being East Coast games, why not have, like, a day game? Like, have, like, a 4 p.m.
Because the
and
MLS
kinda spread 'em out.
doesn't ever... The MLS never thinks of the fans or fantasy or any of that. They literally, I think they take all the games for the season, and then they grab a big pile of papers, and then they go like this, and wherever the games end up, they end up. I'll tell you this, you know, this week, to have 4 games as a fantasy week is a travesty.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing ever. You just came off a double game week. What could you have done differently? How about this? How about the previous week was a single? You could have went 2 double game weeks in a row. You could have went Wednesday, Saturday, a few weeks ago. Then there was nothing till the following Saturday. You could have went Saturday, Wednesday as a double game week.
Yep.
And then you could have went last Saturday, this Saturday as a semi-double game week.
Right.
And not had 4 games for people to choose from.
Yeah. No, I just think, so here is what's good about 4 games in a week like this. If you're a casual viewer and you just want to watch soccer, there's only 4 games this week, so these could have gone
Well,
all
I'm not
day,
even saying change
like
your
end to
schedule.
end to end.
I'm saying change the way you ran the fantasy.
Right, to not end up
You
with...
couldn't have had, you didn't have to do Wednesday, Saturday double game. You
Yeah.
could have went Saturday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, instead of this Saturday being a single,
Sure.
combine last Saturday and this Saturday.
Yeah, no, that would have worked. Where were we in your lineup, by the way? Because we didn't finish it.
I think defenders.
Okay, let's get back to that.
Yes. So you know, I don't ever say I'm right, but this week I'm right. You have to do a 5-man back line with 2 Autoroos.
No, I agree.
To think that your defenders are going to score more than and you're going to guess the right guys that are going to do better than these midfielders and forwards.
Well, and honestly, I would argue that just statistically to give yourself the best shot at it, especially with the new scoring, you really do need to go 5-man back line with 2 buys.
And you're going, hey, the best 2 out of 3 of these midfielders and forward.
Yeah, no, you're just giving yourself more looks at it. I don't see the advantage, because I know very few people.
You don't even have a full game in, so you're not giving yourself a switcheroo option.
Right. No, but even when I do look at the highest scoring teams, like for the MLS, they all seem to do this. Like, it seems to be the commonplace.
Because defense means nothing this year.
Yep.
With the new scoring, that's why. So I've done it the last 4 or 5 weeks, but this week is the week I'm telling you you have to do it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So I have Boxall, Dylan Nealis, and Reagan from
I thought
Seattle.
about Jackson Reagan.
Yeah, so I had Totland originally because he can score, but he has 2 goals all season he scored. What are the chances this is one of them?
Right.
Now, I will say, against a crappy Portland D,
Yeah.
so there is a chance on this one, but I think there's 0 chance they get a clean sheet.
Right.
So I'm banking 100% on him scoring offensively. Whereas I think Red Bull's going to park the bus, and I think that New England is terrible attacking-wise. So Nealis has a chance, and he can get involved in bonus points.
Yep.
Reagan, I think Seattle can get a clean sheet, and Fry is my backup goalie, and I want to see what happens in the first half with Mira. But I think Kansas City's not good. Now, they're much better at home. They're scoring over 1.5 goals per game at home. But just this last run of games, they just look so bad.
Yeah.
And that Johnny Russell goal last game was awesome at the very end, but the game was done.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that game was closer. Would they had let him take that space and everything? And he doesn't even play all the time. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what their coach is doing with these lineups.
No, it's wild, actually.
So I think there is a chance. Plus Jackson Reagan gets bonus points. And
Yeah.
then Boxell, same thing.
Well,
I think
and
Minnesota.
Here's the thing. What the Atlanta coach that just got sacked? What's his name?
I should know this. I knew it.
Yeah.
And now that you
I
asked
did
me,
too.
I don't know it.
But how that guy has lost his job and the Sporting Kansas City coach is still an MLS coach is beyond me. Because Atlanta at least had moments of like, oh, here
Gonzalo
they are.
Pineda.
Gonzalo Pineda.
So mad at myself.
like,
I had to look.
There were moments where it was like, oh, Atlanta is back on the rise. And then it just didn't happen to be. There's never been once this season where I was like, Kansas City's figuring it out. Like,
no, never.
They've been bad the whole time.
Well, and also this on Pineda. So, first of all, Gigi, who should be gone soon,
Yeah.
is always hurt. Like the last 2 seasons, it's not even just this year. The last 2
Yeah.
seasons, he's always hurt. So your best striker is always hurt. Then Almada is not Almada anymore. He doesn't, I truly believe he doesn't care. He wants to go to Europe and he's done with the MLS. And yeah, he did great against Miami because he's playing against Messi. So this is the game. I got to show I'm the new Argentina.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the future captain. I'm what's going to take us forward. So I'm going to be great against Messi. So there was something to play for. But I don't like him at all. Like as a person, I don't like that dude at all. Like you're a professional soccer player. Every game should be everything you have. And that dude is a quitter. Like he's nope, I want to play in Europe, MLS, I'm too good for it. But you're still on this team and you are awful this season.
Yeah.
For someone that's supposed to be this elite player.
No, well, and I'm really not hearing a lot of that from any critics, any articles. I mean, pretty much everyone wanted to put everything on Pineda, and that didn't seem fair. I mean, this roster hasn't changed that much from years they were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
At some point.
Which is why they say it's the coach. The roster hasn't changed and they were successful, so it's the coach. But no.
The coach, like, he can't do everything. It
Right.
is on the
Oh, I
players
agree.
to be them.
100%.
And they don't look like Atlanta United. Against Miami, they did. And a lot of that was...
Because they were playing Miami.
Yeah, well, but also, what's his name? Saba, I mean, he was great. There was... It was more to it than just the team came together. Like, individual guys were like, fuck this, we're not losing to Miami, you know?
But I will say, Saba always plays.
Yeah. No, he's awesome.
He
and by
does.
the way...
He's a likable
Last
guy.
week, I don't know if
Player.
it made it on the episode or if it was before the episode, but you were making fun of his goal celebration where he put the ball in his shirt. Like
is his
he was
wife pregnant or something?
Yes, she is actually pregnant.
I said that's the only reason that you do that. So now I'm okay with it.
But God, that made me laugh when I heard that.
No,
He
no,
does
but
have
that.
a baby on
But so many guys do it. I don't know why they do it.
I don't know either.
But
actually.
if your
It's
wife
really
is
odd.
pregnant, I'm good with that. That's very sweet.
But yeah, and then
Midfield.
Midfield. Oh my God.
Yeah, we had some tangents this time. That's okay. There's only 4 games.
Yeah.
So midfield was Evander was a no-brainer for me. He was the only guy that was really a no-brainer. As much as I don't like New England, I think you still play Heel. Heel has scored points all season, even when they don't score. He gets bonus points. He gets key passes. He gets passes. He gets a lot of stuff. And I don't think that they 100% can't score. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
They are missing players. So if there's a game, and they're at home, New England. So if there's a game they're going to score, it's this one. So I have Heel on my bench because I'm still a little worried. But I have him. Lovin, I have him. He's finally back. And I think now that he's got a game under his belt, now he's really ready to go. And against a team that has a bad defense.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. And he's someone I kind of teetered on captain, but then I was like, no, that's silly.
So I will say, just looking at Heel, His biggest games are 2-10s, but the last 10 was Week 12 at New York with their regular line.
With all those guys playing.
So he does he understands how to beat this team. Now, I will also say 7 points against New York City FC at home and 9 points against Nashville this last week. They were on a single. So he's coming off of 2 good games.
In the last
that
6 weeks, he has 1 game under 6. He has a 3. The rest are 9, 6, 10, 7, 9. I mean, he's a guy that scores even on a bad fantasy-wise, even on a bad team.
Yeah.
So, my other starter besides Evander and Lovin is Rusnak.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I like Seattle. That's my 3rd Seattle player, so I don't have a Seattle forward. But if by chance he has a PK save in the first half, I'll get rid of Fry, and I'll think about Rui Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, Rusnak's my last player. He's the most consistent player on Seattle.
Yeah.
He gets points in the midfield. He scores. He gets assists. He gets key passes. He gets a lot of stuff. So I like Rusnak this week when you look at all the guys not playing. The other guy on the bench is Sang-Bin Jung.
Mm-hmm.
With all those Minnesota players missing, I really don't like Dallas. I think they can score. If they score at all, it's between Sang-Bin Jung and Longwani.
Yeah.
So, and I have them both on my bench. So that brings me my forwards. Longwani's on my bench. And then I have Klaus and Rodriguez on Portland. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. There are people that like Musa. I just don't like Dallas. And I know they're playing against a Minnesota team with so many players missing. That still doesn't make them good. And I like to play matchups, but that still doesn't make them good.
Yeah, well, and so part of what made my decision, because honestly, Rodriguez and Klaus were staying, but I could have gone Musa or Longwani. I think if Musa has a goal, it will be 1 goal. Longwani could have a brace.
Yes.
He could have a hat trick. That wouldn't absolutely floor me to see that. If Musa had a hat trick, I would be like, holy shit.
And I'll tell you,
and that's what the
I think that, the New England defenders and the Dallas team, those are those separators for me this week. I don't have them, and a lot of people will because of their matchup. And I just think they're bad teams. So if those teams are very unsuccessful, I will have a good week comparatively. Even if I have 60 points, a lot of other people are going to have 35 points.
Yeah, so to get into the betting for this week. So I haven't been betting the last few weeks. We were in Europe, and then we just gotten back. This week I have 4 because there's only 4 games. So I got 1 from each game. So I have New England over the New York Red Bulls plus 140. I'm pretty confident that they...
What's the draw on that? Do you know?
Let's pull it up. I have the website open right now. Oh, it logged me out. Let's get back in quick.
And just, I don't know, Red Bull's coming off a win on the road.
Yeah, and then
you
that
could look
many
2
guys
ways
missing.
from that, right? Is that momentum? Or that was their win, so now...
Right. The draw is plus 250. New York Red Bull win would have been plus 160. So that's where we're at there. But I had the Revs at plus 145.
That's just a game I personally would stay away from. I don't know what's going to happen in that.
No, I don't. But I thought it would be good to have 1 from each game this week.
Yeah.
So then St. Louis, I have them beating the Timbers. They're minus 145, actually. Kind of a heavy favorite. The Timbers are plus 320, which almost made me want to bet on the Timbers because they're plus 320, but I don't know. I just think St. Louis needs a win. They're at home. There's stuff going in their favor.
Lovin's back, and against a bad Timber defense. I love Klaus this week.
Yeah, no,
and I thought about him as my captain.
I think St. Louis could light it up for sure.
And I might change him to my captain. Right now, it's still Evander, but I really might change it to Klaus, man.
Yeah, and so that was one game that I thought about the over on, but the over is 3.5, so instead my next bet was Sporting Seattle. I took the over 2.5. A 2-1 win in either direction covers that. I didn't want to bet a winner in this game because I really don't know. Like, on one hand, the Sounders are the better team, and they are the favorite. Plus 145, Sounders win. Plus 170, Kansas City win. So you could maybe safely bet the Sounders, but I just feel like they do so many dumb things to lose games.
Especially on the road.
The number of red cards to lose games on the road, it's just unacceptable. Like, I'm not confident that they're not going to fuck this up.
Well, and you're talking about red cards, and when you're done with your point, I would love to talk about somebody in red cards.
Okay, let me get this last bet out. And then the last game, so Minnesota United, Dallas. Dallas is plus 210. I think I'm going to go with Dallas just on sheer odds here.
I do like those odds when so many people from Minnesota are
it just feels hard to let that go. And I could see Minnesota winning it. And honestly, what I think your best bet this week is of those four, maybe pick like 2 or 3 that you're confident in. Parlay it, bet a low amount. You're not going to get big money this week. These games are too difficult to pick.
These are hard games.
This isn't the week where you triple up. It's just not. So, low money parlay, have some fun, take a long shot type thing. But there's not a ton in it this week for me betting wise.
No. This is a tough week. I agree.
Red cards. What do you want to say?
Okay. Bernadeschi. So it's not new news that I hate him.
No, we've long detailed that saga.
To my soul. So I before the red cards, I want to start with his ridiculous hairstyle now.
No, I'm not into it.
A white guy with cornrows that are bleached.
It's bold.
You're a 30-year-old man now. I don't know who you think you are. And he's clearly a lost soul. I mean...
No, yeah.
The most undisciplined player of all time. The biggest brat. Every negative thing that happens to him or that team is everyone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches have to get fired. It's not me. I'm amazing. I've never seen a 30-year-old man that never takes responsibility for anything.
Oh, I don't think that's true. There are a lot of 30-year-old men that don't take
Not that make the money that he makes.
Yeah, I suppose.
The rest of them live in trailer parks.
Right.
He is... He's an enigma wrapped in a conundrum.
Yeah. No, well, and what's funny about him is...
Besides his hair.
But, like, we're saying he's a lost soul. Like, when he was in Italy, I don't think he was like that. I truly think... and he was still a brat and a baby and all that. Like, he still wasn't taking responsibility
Still getting
for
used
anything.
to the cold of Canada.
But I honestly think, like, you move from Italy... And, by the way, Juventus, Torino, like, not a terrible place to live. Like, a real city in Italy. And now you're in Toronto, and it's completely different. And I don't think he's handling it well.
I've never been to Toronto. I actually heard it's a really cool city.
Toronto is cool, but it ain't... I mean, it's just not quite the same as...
No. It's totally different lifestyle.
And he's Italian. He grew up Italian. You know?
I get that.
I think something about going to Toronto, which is so far removed from what he's used to, I think you just start changing things about your personality, and one of those things you change is to bleach your cornrows, which is so crazy to me, but that's what happened.
So, he got 2 yellows on Saturday.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah.
For the second time in 4 games. 4 games, he got 2 yellows for a red.
No, yeah. Well, and if I'm the coach, there's a real conversation that needs to be had.
That should have been had a long time ago.
Yes.
And I like that dude. That's the guy that used to coach Canada.
Yeah.
And
Bernadeschi's probably a player that you don't want to approach because you don't...
No, he's the player you have to approach.
For sure, but also you don't want to create drama, and hey, it's a double yellow.
The drama is already there. It follows that guy. No, you have to eliminate it by telling him, hey, this is not going to stand, man. You're supposed to be a leader on this team, and between him and Insigne, there's the two leaders, and one of them is always missing.
Yeah.
For Insigne, now his wife just had a baby, so total legitimate reason to miss a game, especially when your team sucks.
Yeah.
And it's a regular season game. Your kid's birth is more important than a game against crappy DC United. But one of them is always missing. But even when they're there, Insigne is far more a leader than him. He's not a leader at all. And you can't pay a guy that much money, take up a DP spot, to not be a leader. And he's not just not leading, he's a cancer. They went down a man. Now, luckily they had a red card go the other way as well to bring it back. But he kills that team. He kills them. He's the most undisciplined player. And at 21, 19, 23, okay, I get that. At 30 years old, and a guy that's supposed to be a leader of the team, that's inexcusable.
No, it's part of your role now.
You've got to. I would sit him, and which is what probably Bradley did, which was what got him fired, which was a terrible decision. He needs a manager that's going to lay down the law because he is out of control.
Well, and it's funny because that makes ownership nervous, and it shouldn't, because you're not going to win with Bernadeschi acting like this.
No.
You're just not. You're not going to make playoff runs. I mean, if this is a playoff game and Bernadeschi goes out on 2 yellows, that, even if we do win, we're still in a bad spot next game. Like, you can't make mistakes like that. I've been on Seattle all year about ridiculous cards.
They're higher in the standings than I thought. They're in 6th right now.
Mm-hmm.
They will not make the playoffs. I was going to say, here's the good news. He doesn't have to worry about playoff games.
True.
Because they're going to implode.
Well, and some of the teams behind him, Columbus, Philly, and Nashville, all on their heels, really.
Well, games played, though. Toronto's got 17. Columbus is tied with them. They've only played 14.
Yeah, so Columbus will pass them.
Philly, Nashville only played 16.
Yeah.
So,
though they're still ahead of them after they equalize still, even if Nashville
by
and
1
Philly
point and by 2 points.
Right, but Columbus, it's almost not in their hands. Philly and Nashville, it is still in Toronto's hands. As long as they don't implode, which they will.
I believe they will, actually.
Yeah. And by the way,
while a cancer like that.
While we're on the table conversation, Charlotte in 5th, loving that.
Yes. I also don't like that they've had 17 games.
Yeah.
But
Miami's had 18.
Yes. Yeah. But they've got 35 points as opposed to Charlotte's 25.
Though Cincinnati, 2 games in hand on them. New York City, 2 games in hand on them. I mean, Miami is not as solid in that one spot as they appear to be.
They dropped 5 points in these 2 home games.
Inexcusable.
Against Atlanta, who's terrible on the road and never scores, and you let up 3 goals.
Yeah. No, you can't have that.
Like, that's... And then St. Louis, you let up another 3 goals.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, Messi's about to be out for a while.
Yeah. No,
so, yeah, I am not a fan of Miami. I never was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that literally the entire league's about them now. But, so they've got to change something on defense.
Yeah.
So they play a 4-man back line and the 2 fullbacks get up the field, which is fine. A lot of teams do that. I have teams I coach that I do that.
Mm-hmm.
But their 2 center backs can't stop that transition play, and their midfield turns the ball over too much. And you saw Alba on Saturday. He was livid. He was yelling at guys because he was up the field and they had a bad turnover. When those fullbacks are still up the field, you can't turn the ball over.
No, ball security is more important.
Yep, and so it was a 3v2, and those center backs, they're not good enough to stop a 2v2.
No, they get toasted a lot, actually.
I honestly, and I don't know how much it hurts your midfield attacking-wise, but they have such a good attack anyway. I know Tata will never do this, but they should think about a 5-man back line so that when you send those fullbacks all the way up, you still got 3 back there.
Yeah.
it changes everything because now you got 2 midfielders instead of 3. But
Yeah, well, and I guess so. But here's the problem: is what does
Is-
Messi do now? Because you have you, I get unless you play Messi as like a side by side 9. Because now what you're doing is you're putting Busquets, I'm assuming, in that 6 role still as like an anchor kind of. So then you have 2 wing mids, a right and a left. Then you have 2 strikers. So is it Messi and Suarez as a top 2? Because that's not what Messi usually
you can play
does.
a double pivot, Busquets and someone else, Messi playing a true 10, 2 forwards, and your 2 fullbacks coming up.
Yeah, I suppose.
So what would that be? A 5-3-2 with 2 holding mids and an attacking mid.
That would work.
Kind of a 5-2-1-2.
Yeah.
But with your fullbacks getting all the way up,
yeah, it becomes
I
a
don't know.
3-5-2.
I mean, he's never going to
attack
change
anyway.
it. He's never going to play a 5-man back line. But unless you continue to score 4 or 5 goals a game, you're going to draw and lose because they're
Which, by the
letting
way,
up
is happily what they're planning on doing. Is just
No,
scoring
that's
4
what it
goals.
is. We're just gonna outscore you.
Yeah.
But they didn't these last.
No,
2
they
games.
play the way like a uncoached pickup kids team.
100%. Because their attacking players are so good.
Yeah.
I don't debate that. But you look at these last 2 games, both at home,
Yeah. No, not a good week to drop 5 points.
and they dropped 5 points.
All right, guys. Well, I think that is our episode. John, anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
So I always say check your lineups.
Mm-hmm.
This week you have to check your lineups.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many players not playing. You have to check your lineups.
It's anybody's guess.
And here's the good news. You got to do it twice. There's a 7:30 and 8:30, and that's it. So it's an easy week to check your lineups, but you absolutely have to this week. You really do.
And also, announcement for the show, we do have a new sponsor. I don't have a promo code or an ad read or anything like that, but next week we're going to give out a promo code. I don't know if you guys can see the chain I'm wearing. This was sent to me by a company called Narcy. They do all European jewelry stuff. They sent me a chain. They're going to give us a promo code so you guys can get money off. So we'll give you guys that next week. And hopefully we'll have more sponsors soon and you guys can get some free or cheap stuff, which would be fun. All right, we'll see you next week.
Good luck.